Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We are just gonna sit down and do something a little bit fun today. Last year I made a video where I went through some of my 5-star reads and read the 1-star reviews of those books, which was quite an interesting experience. I feel like whenever people do videos like that, it's just like, I don't know, it's for fun. It's to see what other people think, like other people that don't agree with you. Sometimes it's fun to see those differing opinions. So today we're gonna do an old spin on the classic, and I'm gonna go through some of the books that I rated 1 star and then read the 5-star reviews of those books. I feel like this is gonna be really interesting because these books I obviously did not enjoy. I'm actually not one to just like hand out 1-star reviews very frequently. Usually if I don't like a book, I will give it 2 stars at the very least, because I don't know, I feel like giving 1-star reviews I feel mean doing it and I don't like doing it, but there have been a handful of books that I could not give 2 stars. Like I just did not enjoy them really whatsoever. So we're gonna go through those books, and I am actually interested in seeing what other people liked about these books. I feel like that always gives me something interesting to think about, to see just like, I don't know, all of our different book tastes, how we read books differently, how we interpret things differently, and who knows, maybe I'll read a review that will convince me to bump one of these books up to a 2-star rating. My mind is completely open, so we are going to start at the bottom of my Goodreads list. Oh. The first book on this list that is a 1-star from me is one that I think is quite controversial because I really did not enjoy this book at all, but I know so many people love these books, and also a lot of my friends really love these books. I really wanted to see the fun in it, but it just wasn't for me at all. I couldn't do it, and that book is The Awakening, the first book in the Zodiac Academy series. I just could not get along with this book at all. I did not enjoy the writing. It is very easy to read. It is very fast to read, so I can see if you want something that is just like some sort of a palate cleanser, something that's easy to get through. I can see why people would like this book for that, but for me the writing style was just too, like, it made me cringe, and that is a personal thing. I know like sometimes writing that I love makes other people cringe, so it's like no insult at all to anyone who likes the writing in these books, but it just wasn't for me. The dialogue was very cheesy to me, and I found the main plot to be very like convoluted. It didn't work. I thought a lot of the rules, like just the morals in this world, didn't make sense. We had a lot of teachers doing questionable things, which I didn't like. I know a lot of other people do like this, but I don't know. I just couldn't. I feel like every character in this book was acting inappropriately, and there were no consequences to how anyone acted, and I am a girl that likes my rules. So yeah, I didn't love this. I know this book was really bully romance, and I just don't think bully romance is the trope for me, so I didn't like the Zodiac Academy. But let's look at some 5-star reviews and see what the people who loved this book thought. All right, the first one that I see. So many people told me you have to push through the first book in the series before it gets good. There was absolutely no pushing through this book for me. I gobbled up every last page and left no crumbs. I get the hype already. I just know the series is gonna destroy me in the best way possible, and I can't wait. Was it a literary work of art? Absolutely not, and that is more than okay with me. I immediately fell in love with the world of Solaria and all the magical elements and creatures within it. And the heirs. Don't get me started on Darius. Professor Orion is zaddy, and I know the pining intention between him and Darcy is going to be everything. There is so much going on, and I'm diving headfirst into the chaos. Okay, see, yeah, this is what I wanted to feel with this book, because I know some of the books I like don't have the most eloquent writing. Like I do read a lot of books with simple writing that I enjoy. Something like Fourth Wing. I know the writing is not the most sophisticated. Some of the dialogue is cringy in Fourth Wing and cheesy, but I overall love that world and series so much, and I love the characters, and I just need to know what happens to them. You know, I care for them so deeply. That is what I wanted to feel for Zodiac Academy, but I do understand this review. I don't feel the same way as this review, but I get it. Let's see what else. What a roller coaster of epic proportions and unputdownable series. It's impossible not to get sucked in and to be completely consumed. This is my emotional tornado. Of course, the best ride and a family I love coming home to. If you're wanting to give up, I urge you to keep reading. Get through the second book before you toss it. The Awakening has a lot of bullying that only makes the girls stronger. Stick with it and you'll see how the relationships evolve. How much is there's rent in Solaria these days. Might have to postpone my acceptance into Hogwarts. I would much rather go to Hogwarts personally. I do not want to go to the school where teachers just like grope you and there's no consequences, but I see the comment where this first book has a lot of bullying, and that's, you know, a big part of why I didn't like the Zodiac Academy. So I could see the argument of maybe the second book being better for me, but I'm still not fully convinced. Okay, we'll read one more for this book. This one says, I was really pleasantly surprised with this book, so much that I'm moving on to the next book in the series. I loved this book. If you're a fantasy reader, you need to give this series a chance. The world building is excellent. I never read a book like this with these kinds of mixed paranormal magic and characters. If you love paranormal, fierce female lead, mystery solving, magic, bully romance, this book has all of that, so get with it. This one's tough for me. I just don't see it. I want to be convinced by these comments, but I don't think this is working. I don't know. I didn't think the world building was that great personally in Zodiac Academy. I thought the idea of it was really good, and I was really excited to read a magic system that was based on Zodiac, but I just personally, I feel like the world was a bit shallow, and it'll probably build throughout the series. Like, I am sure, like with most fantasy series, you kind of just get a glimpse into the world in the first book, and then as the story goes on, it like builds and builds and builds and gets better. So I can definitely see that happening, but I didn't get that from the first book. There definitely were a lot of different like species of magical creatures in there. I think there were like werewolf type things, there were vampire type things, were there like unicorns or like shifters? I can't remember at this point. I've honestly kind of like expelled a lot of this book out of my head, so I don't remember a lot of the details, but I think there were a lot of different types of magical creatures, but in terms of like the specific world building that was specific to this world of Solaria, I didn't feel it. I'm not convinced on Zodiac Academy, but let's move on to the next one. And I think this book was actually the first 1-star I ever gave, and that was To a Fate Inked in Blood. I wanted to love this one as well. I think the idea of it again was really good. I wanted to love like a Norse mythology romantasy, because there's really like no other book that I've read that is like this, but I just found it overall to be really boring. I thought the pacing was really strange, and I really liked the first chapter actually. I think the book started off really strong, but we didn't have enough time to get to know the characters, to like start caring for them before all these battles started happening. I feel like we had one introductory chapter to the world and the characters, and then we were just thrown into battle after battle after battle without any room to breathe in between, that I ended up not caring what happened in these battles. Like the main characters could have just like died, and I would not have really cared while reading this book, which is not something you want in a romantasy. Yeah, I just wanted more room to breathe with this book, like more of the quiet times, more time to get to know the characters and their personal journeys and quirks and everything, and to build the relationship between the two main characters as well. And there was like there were hints of like some scheming going on, and I wanted more of that, but I feel like we had too few pages of the scheming and too many pages of just battle after battle after battle. Like this book seemed like it should have been the third book in the series, you know, like in a fantasy series, kind of like ACOTAR. We're gonna use ACOTAR as an example because the first book is very simple, it's very world building, there's a bit of romance, and then the second book is like the most romance and more scheming going on, and we don't really get into like heavy battle war until the third book, until ACOWAR. And I feel like that pacing really works in a fantasy because you have the time to build these connections, to build these characters, and to build the plot, like to have all the fantasy politics set in place before you just like throw all your characters into battle. Because by the time ACOWAR came around, I cared about the characters so deeply that the battles were really like exciting for me to read, like very scary. I was just fingers crossed that everyone gets through this battle, right? But in A Fate Inked in Blood, the battles happen really immediately, and there was just no room to like care about them. But let's see what the 5-star reviews say. Wow, some of these are so long. I don't think I can read all of these, but we're just gonna go through it quickly. So we have a checklist, we have Norse mythology, great. We have spicy Viking romantasy, good, okay. We have forbidden romance. Did we? Honestly, I feel like a lot of these 1-star reviews, I just like banished a lot of the plot out of my head, so I don't really remember that. that? Oh, I guess so. No, yeah, okay, it's coming back to me. I do remember the forbidden romance. Forced proximity, insta-lust paired with slow burn, one horse. Okay, I don't like insta-lust. So that also explains why this book didn't get along with me. I don't like when characters have this insta-lust attraction for each other and the romance is built with lust first. I just don't like it. Like, I understand, like, obviously when characters have like that first attraction to each other, like you need the initial attraction and then to build the emotional connection. But when it's like too lust heavy first without the emotional buildup, that's what I don't like. So obviously that is a trope that some people get along with better than I do, but I don't like that. Forbidden romance. See, forbidden romance is a trope that I absolutely love and I eat up every single time, which is why, again, I wanted to love this book so much. And I guess that, yeah, like that setup could have been really good, but there was no time to build it up. Like, it was just, we were thrown into battle. Okay, so I can kind of relate to that one, but kind of not. Okay, this one, we have another checklist. We have strong FMC. Okay, yeah. We have God blessed in abilities, that's true. Norse mythology, yes. Toxic family relationships and their actual dynamics. Yeah, I could see this. This is something I saw, especially in the first chapter with the build-up. I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. But then I feel like we didn't dive deeper into that. And then amazing romance, I'd say slow burn. But see, it wasn't slow burn for me because I remember, okay, I'm gonna be vague here. We may be getting into like general spoiler territory, vague spoiler territory. So skip this next part if you wanna read this book and go in completely blind. I'm not gonna say any specific plot details, but in terms of the relationship speed, I feel like it was not a slow burn because I swear during the first battle, the two characters were like making it with each other, like mid-battle. It all happened very fast, all the physical stuff at least. So to me, that's not a slow burn. Like, a slow burn to me is like you get through 400 pages, maybe 300 to 400 pages, and all the two main characters have done is like brushed fingers. Maybe like walked past each other in a hallway and like brushed shoulders and like felt a little zing. Like, that is slow burn to me. But like the characters just making out with each other within the first like 50 to 100 pages is not, that's not slow burn to me. But I guess like maybe emotionally, like on the emotional side of the romance, it was more of a slow burn, just not the physical. I don't know. Okay, we'll do one more. We'll do 3 for each. Okay, 5 Born in Fire stars. I love the theme. Spicy level, 2 out of 5. Really? I feel like I would give this at least a 3 out of 5 star, maybe a 4 out of 5 star. I feel like there's a lot of spice in this book. But again, see, that's why like we all have different levels and ratings of things that we enjoy. So to someone who reads a lot of spicy books, maybe this book was a 2 out of 5 star, but for me, it was like way more spicy than that. I've had this book approved for a very long time, I'm assuming from the library, and I just kind of kept brushing it off, but why did I wait so long? I seriously wish I could go back in time and kick some flipping sense into my past self, because had I known this would be such an amazing masterpiece that I was just ignoring, I would have jumped on it sooner. I can't relate. I can't relate, I'm sorry. We're gonna move on to Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. This is the only Tessa Bailey I've read, and I don't think I'll be reading another Tessa Bailey. This was a like holiday Christmassy romance, obviously, and I just could not get along with it. I didn't understand the connection. It was very, very spicy. I do enjoy an occasional spice scene, but the way that this spice was written made me literally feel uncomfortable. It just wasn't for me. But let's see what other people thought of it. I honestly don't think this book has many 5-star ratings, but let's see. This holiday romance is the perfect prescription for lonely souls, depressed individuals who carry clouds beneath their heads, and anyone in great need of a great laugh and heartwarming moments. It revolves around a captivating friends to lovers trope with a parent trap twist, featuring 2 rock legend parents who happen to be arch nemesis. I feel like the problem with just me reading these reviews is I want someone here to talk to me in person, like have a back and forth discussion. I feel like that's what's good with book clubs, is that like me reading these reviews, I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I don't understand, and I need this person who wrote this review to elaborate because I don't get it. But like, for example, when I'm at a book club, like my in-person book club, and I'm talking to someone about a book and we have 2 different ratings, like that vary very drastically, we're able to talk back and forth, and like I'm able to understand what the other person sees more. But this is tricky for me. A parent trap twist. I suppose. Okay, I can see where you would get that, but it's so not The Parent Trap. I don't know, because when I was reading this book, I honestly got into, it kicked me out of the Christmas spirit and it made me really sad because I wanted to be in the Christmas spirit, and this had the opposite effect for me. But let's see what someone else said about it, because I don't know what to make of that first review. Okay, I don't know why I loved this book so much compared to other Tessa Bailey books, but I did. I had so much fun. I love how unhinged she is. Oh, okay. So maybe the unhinged comment is making a bit more sense to me. So maybe people read this book to just have like a wild time. Like, it's not a book to take seriously, like even the romantic element of it. It's supposed to be kind of just like unhinged, wild, like not to be taken seriously, just kind of like a joke. Let's read another one. I love Melody and Beat. I unfortunately did not. She is snarky, he is charming. Together they have an undeniable chemistry and understanding due to who their moms are. Okay, yes, I remember this. They had like they went through very similar childhoods so they could understand each other, and I can see that being a pro. There's banter and flirting for days, and I legit couldn't get enough of them. Of course, Trina and Octavia are glorious, and I especially enjoyed their arc. Plot-wise, it's good. The story spans 2-ish weeks, and it never got boring. There is some miscommunication. Yeah, I don't like that trope. A lot of touch her and you'll die, and a delicious amount of spice. I found the plot to be really boring. Like I thought, again, similar to the other 2 books that I rated 1 star. The premise of the plot had promise, and that's obviously, you know, that's why I pick up the book in the first place, because there's promise to the concept. But in the execution, I feel like I was so bored reading this book, and I wanted to DNF it, which I don't DNF books, and also this book being so short, I find that shocking that I wanted to DNF a book that is so short, because it's like such a quick read that it's easy to get through. But I found myself really bored with this book, just like the speed of it, like how things unfolded. How long is this book actually? 351 pages. Yeah, really short, and also like it's one of those types of books that doesn't have very many words per page, so in general it's pretty quick to get through. But those are actually all the books that I've rated 1 star over the years. See, like I don't do 1 stars a lot, but just to talk about a couple more, let's get into some 2 stars that were basically 1 stars. Oh, this one I was so sad about. The Secret History. I did give this book 2 stars. I wanted to love this book so much. I thought it could have been so good, but the way it was written, it was hard for me to get through. At first, I was like, oh, it's because I didn't like any of the characters and didn't care about them. But since I've read this book, I have enjoyed books where I do not like any of the characters, but it's still interesting for me to read. I can't say the same for this book. And then after I read The Secret History, I read If We Were Villains, which is a very similar concept. And honestly, like, it's the same book, different font. I loved If We Were Villains so much more than The Secret History. I just think in the execution of it, I think if The Secret History was 200 pages shorter, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, but I found especially the ending of the book really dragged on. I found the beginning of it to be quite interesting, but after everything happened, I feel like the conclusion of it was really slow. Like, it felt like everything had concluded already, and then the book kept going on for 200 pages. And I think that's really what affected my rating, is because by the end of the book, I was like, why have I been reading 200 more pages of this book when I feel like this book really should have ended at the halfway point? Like, that was enough for me. Let's see what people liked about it though. This one's funny. Every single character belongs in a mental asylum. Affectionate. Yes, every single character in this book was absolutely unhinged. This review says, achingly pretentious, insufferably wordy, and probably one of the best books I've ever read. I don't think I've ever wished a 600+ page book was even longer. See, I agree with this review. I agree that it was achingly pretentious. I agree that it was insufferably wordy, but I don't think this was one of the best books I've ever read, which I find so interesting because we agree, like we have similar thoughts of this book, but those similar thoughts were something that made me not enjoy the book, but made her love the book. And I actually found this to be the case when I was going through my 5-star reads and reading 1-star reviews. Things that people were saying they didn't like about the book were the things that I liked about the book. Some people really love reading books that are seemingly pretentious with the writing, but I didn't. Okay, I don't know about you, but what I strive for is finding my next great read. They're not always perfect, but they leave me dumbfounded and in awe. Days after I find myself doing something completely mundane and unable to stop thinking about the story and the characters, that's what The Secret History did to me. I can kind of see that. I can see how this book would be one to stick with you long term. I feel like if this book was just 200 pages shorter, it could have been a 3-star for me. Ooh, this review's interesting. I understand why The Secret History is loathed as much as it is loved. If I remove myself a bit from what I just read, I know implausible dialogue and somewhat unbelievable plot elements, horrifically selfish and nasty main characters, overflowing with evil, sure, but mostly with ennui and snobbery and drunkenness, and poor little rich people and an air of erudition that is more smokescreen than substance. This person is probably smarter than me. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is that some people really love that like over snobbery, like unlikable character, pretentious writing of The Secret History, and that is probably a genre in itself. But again, I really liked If We Were Villains, and I feel like that had a very similar feeling of like, you don't like any of the characters, everyone's very pretentious, but maybe I just like the writing style in that book better. I don't know, very interesting. For fun, let's just do one more. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do Magnolia Parks. And this one's an interesting one for me because I did not like the first book, but I really liked the Daisy book, and I recently just read Long Way Home, and I enjoyed that book a lot more than the first Magnolia book. So although I rated the first book 2 stars, it's definitely gone up in the ratings for me as I've continued the series. I still don't think I would like the first book if I reread it. Maybe I would, I don't know. But let's see what other people really loved about the first book after just reading that one. Oh, and things I didn't like about the first book. I found I was really entertained for the first like quarter of the book. It felt very gossip girly. It was really like dramatic and toxic, and it was just really fun to read. But I found that it got really repetitive. Like the two main characters, Magnolia and BJ, were just doing the same things to each other over and over again. And I just got really bored and tired and frustrated reading it. So let's see what other people loved about it. Okay. This review says infinity out of 10. Infinity doesn't even cut it. How's the weather parks? Okay, I feel like Jessa Hastings is really good at inserting these types of quotes they turn into these like really iconic lines that just get your heart going, like how's the weather parks. I still, even like to this day, don't like Magnolia and BJ together as a couple. I understand them and I get their like gravitational pull towards them now, and I am in some way rooting for them to get together, but just like lines like how's the weather parks, or just like the things they say to each other, it's hard to not have these lines sneak their way into your heart. I feel like Jessa is really, really good at that. But more on this review. I'm obsessed, I'm in love, this universe is my new personality, and I've only read book 1. SOS, Parks and Beach have ruined me, but in the best way. They remind me of a mini Chuck and Blair, so I'm immediately in. Gossip Girl, but make it London. True. Daisy and Christian are already my faves though, so the next book is gonna own me. I agree with that. I am definitely a lot more of a Daisy Christian girl in terms of this universe. And okay, I can see the Blair Chuck thing with Magnolia and BJ, but I like Blair and Chuck so much more. Sometimes I find with these types of books, I think that maybe I would prefer this book in a watchable format, like in a bingeable TV series, like Gossip Girl. Like I love these types of stories and following them because they're so like dramatic. But sometimes it's just hard to read about these like characters doing the same thing, like same toxic things to each other. And actually going back to Zodiac Academy, I feel like that is another book that like I couldn't read it, but I feel like if someone made that into like some sort of like a bingeable TV series that you know is trash, like it's trash TV, but you're addicted to it, you want to keep watching it, I feel like I would watch something like Zodiac Academy as a series. Basically, you know, it's something like Vampire Diaries. Like I found actually a lot of parallels and similarities between Zodiac Academy and the Vampire Diaries. I would totally watch that. I would totally watch it, but I don't know, I just couldn't read it. And I feel like the same thing goes with the first Magnolia book. Now, after reading more of it, I think I would still enjoy it more as a show, but I can appreciate the writing of it more as I've read further into the series. But let's find another one to read. This is just Super Rich Kids by Frank Ocean, but novelized. I enjoyed the friendship and the drama of it all. A lot of people don't like Magnolia, but I like her. I just felt like the back and forth for 400 pages was like unnecessary. The author could have cut the book down, especially for the fact that it had no plot. Like a good portion of the middle should have been cut out. Always very very entertaining to say the least. Maybe I'm heartless because everyone was saying how they cried, but I was gasping and giggling the whole book. That ending had me gagged. The book is Gossip Girl meets Euphoria, but new adult and on crack. I agree with a lot of this. This reviewer even said this book was too long, which I agree with. Like, this book is another book that, you know, cut 200 pages out of it, I would have loved it. But this reviewer still loved the book, still gave it a 5-star, even though they thought the middle of it dragged on. And yeah, that ending is what pulled me back in. I feel like if the book didn't end the way it did, I would not have continued in the series, but I'm a sucker for like a really dramatic plot twist at the end. Let's read one more. This book and the story were so incredibly different than anything else I've ever read, and I can't even properly describe why I loved it so much. I just know that I was entertained the entire time. I can see why people might not have a similar opinion on this book since it does have a very chaotic feeling to it. However, I quickly understood while reading this was not going to be a typical romance story, and the back and forth between the two main characters was going to continue throughout the whole book. I think the fact that the story was so relatable and unrelatable at the same time is what made it that much greater. The characters in the story are young adults that are so incredibly rich, it's ridiculous, but because of that, it's so entertaining to read. It's relatable because even with their luxurious lifestyles, you can clearly see they struggle with very normal things such as self-esteem, addiction, broken families, and broken relationships. I can't say enough good things about this book, and I'm glad I was not disappointed. Can't wait to read the rest of the series. Yeah, agree with everything. Agree with everything in this review. I do really think Jessa has a different voice in her writing. Her writing is unlike any other writing style I have read. She just, I don't know what it is, like the way she puts words together. I've never experienced a book like that. And I would also agree that Magnolia Parks in general, the series, reads more like a dramatic fiction over a romance book. It does not follow that very typical romance structure where you have like the meet cute, the romance build up, the third act conflict, and the happily ever after. Her books do not follow that structure, and that is actually something I like about her books. And I do like the point that this reviewer also made, that while the characters are so like, they feel so unrelatable and unreachable just because of like the lives they live, the wealth that they have, like it's just so unlike my personal life. At the same time, they also struggle through these very personal things that while I can't relate to them 100%, there are little pieces of things that like you can understand and relate to. Yeah, out of all the reviews I've read today, I feel like those Magnolia Parks reviews were the most convincing for me, let's say. And maybe it's because I did continue on in the series, and looking back, I can see those pros from the first book now, but I still think it was too repetitive and too long. And I still, after the first book, I did not like Magnolia or BJ at all. Like no. That was interesting. That was really interesting. Anyways, my camera is about to die, so I think I'm gonna end this video here. I hope you liked it. It was a bit of a different video than what I normally do. I thought this would just be kind of a fun experiment to do. I kind of wish I got more out of it, to be honest. Again, I just feel like maybe having like an in-person back and forth with someone who has a differing opinion on a book with you is more helpful than just reading like a static review and then not having anyone to discuss it with. So maybe this video was not as interesting as I wanted it to be when I thought of the premise of it. But either way, I hope you enjoyed just, I don't know, hanging out for a little while and chatting. But yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys here for now. If you did like this video, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what sorts of things you would be interested in hearing me talk about. I do like just sitting down and chatting with you sometime. Let me know what sorts of like sit down chats you would like to see from me, and we'll make it happen. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!